Hi friends, Andrea here. I am going to be attempting to make basically a little sun catcher out of a plastic container. And what I'm going to be using to make this sun catcher is some alcohol inks. You can usually buy these in a 3-pack of different colors. These particular ones that I'm using are made by Ranger Inks, and Ranger also makes lots of other crafting products. In addition to that, I am going to fill up a little, this is a mini mister. It's just a tiny little spray bottle, but instead of spraying like a spritz, it sprays in a mist. So it's a really fine kind of spray. And this is also made by Ranger Ink, but I am going to have it on hand and fill it with some rubbing alcohol. And that way I can just, if I need to, the reason I'm going to incorporate this into my project is if I need to blend some of the alcohol inks in a nice, appealing way, that rubbing alcohol works as a blending material. So you can buy ink blending material for alcohol inks. It's like a liquid, but I just kind of see no reason to do that if I already have alcohol. I'm going to need some scissors, obviously, to cut this down. I don't have it pictured, but I am probably going to get out a punch, like a circle punch. And then I have some little hole punches so I can poke holes in my plastic. And then I have some, this is fishing line, just monofilament. And I used 30-pound clear. So I have 2 different sizes of hole punches here. This one's a really narrow one. I don't think you can see that too well, but it's a really tiny, like a little jewelry hole. And then this one is your typical like 1/4 inch punch. So I'll see what I need. Oh, I have some glitter glue just in case. I just wanted to use this up, but in case I wanted to give it a little more sparkle, this is just a plastic lid from a cake box because it was my birthday recently and we went and bought a cake. So at the grocery store. So this is just, I rescued it from the trash, and I'm just going to cut it, you know, into pieces that I can use. One thing I will say about using alcohol inks is that they are incredibly messy. If you don't have something to protect your work surface, you'll get alcohol ink everywhere on things. They stain really badly. So wear gloves if you are not interested in staining your fingers, and protect your work surface. I would say, you know, if you can, put down like a piece of plastic or something that you don't mind getting dirty because it's going to get dirty, trust me. And then if possible, if you're trying to protect your work surface and you can't put plastic down, put a lot of layers of newspaper down. Even if you just use that to absorb the alcohol ink, it'll be good to have something that protects your work surface as much as possible, because this ink does saturate really, really strongly. I would probably, if I didn't have a surface, like a piece of plastic that I could cover my work surface with, or something that I could work on, I would probably work inside of another plastic container like this, or on some kind of like a plate, a paper plate of some kind, so that whatever I do stays inside of that container, and then maybe even just have a dedicated container, maybe like a shoebox or something that you work inside of, so that you're not getting that ink everywhere. Because let me tell you, it does stain pretty bad if you're not, you know, expecting it to be. I'm just warning you now. It's a strong ink. So I've got it broken down, and it might be a little greasy because, you know, there's cake inside of it, but I'm figuring I'll just spritz it down with my rubbing alcohol first, and then I can or I can wipe it down with a baby wipe if I needed to. So that's good enough. I'm not trying to sterilize it per se. I'm just trying to prep the surface for the ink, really. And alcohol will dry pretty quickly. So I'm just going to wipe this with a baby wipe that I had already sitting here that was dirty from another stamping project. So it's not, you know, it's not like brand new baby wipe. It's just sitting here to be used to clean up my surface, really. But I didn't even go in and wash these with soap and water. Like, I just rinsed them and then let them dry in my strainer. All right, so that's good enough for me, and then it'll dry. So I'm gonna see where I can get, I might have to cut this down a little bit more to get the pieces that I'm trying to get out of this. But I want to try, I think I'm gonna try this little heart. If I can get this guy up in here. It's a little challenging, so I might just cut this little piece off. Be careful, because these pieces of plastic can be kind of sharp. Now I'm just going to cut this part off, because I don't think I can use that. All right, so I think then I will try to come in like this. I think that's good. I'm going to get that punched if I can. Plastic is thick. I don't think it's going to punch that. It started to. Well, that sucks. That ruins my whole plan. We'll see. I'm not going to let it ruin my plan. What I'll do instead is use my scissors, because I know my scissors will work. So I have my basic outline. So I'll just go in with, oh, let's see, let's go in with an orange maybe. I have an orange Sharpie up here. And kind of in there. Just going to press down on it. Since I know that this won't cut through, what I'm going to do instead is just trace it with my orange Sharpie, and then I'll cut around that. Oops. And I don't need to be precise. That's good. And then I can use that as a template if I'm going to cut out more. So this is why I make these videos, because you guys get to see, you know, how I figure out and troubleshoot stuff when it happens, because I feel like that's the thing that is the difference between somebody who's got crafting experience and somebody who's getting started and doesn't know how to troubleshoot an issue that comes up. You just kind of stop and you get stuck and you get frustrated and then you don't try. And that's something I hate to see. And I feel like, you know, it's just a learning process and you're just having fun. It's creative playtime. So don't get stuck if it doesn't work. Just find another way or repurpose that. Or just, you know, take away from it like, oh, well, I guess that technique doesn't work. And I'll have to go back to the drawing board, but you don't have to stop creating. All right, so I got one. Oh, that looks super cute. So now if I wanted to, I could keep going and cut out some more little hearts out of this one. In fact, I think I will. I cut, if you didn't notice, the way I was cutting it was rotating the plastic around my scissors instead of like trying to turn my hand and get my scissors into those little corners and stuff. And that is a good technique if you're trying to cut out something that's rounded. Okay, so I've got a couple little pieces here that I'm going to come back and use. Now that I know that my punches don't work on this, I can go back to the drawing board. But I wanted to show you the way that I'm going to do with the alcohol inks. So rolling up my sleeves, and I have this, I'm going to put these out of the way. I don't need those. I have this sheet here. This is like a plastic sheet. crafting sheet made by, I think it's made by Ranger Ink, but it's one of those like silicone covered sheets that you can buy for baking, I believe. Anyway, I bought it for crafting, and I want to say at the time I bought it, it was a little expensive, maybe like $12 or something like that. I remember thinking that was expensive at the time that I bought it, and thinking like, this better be worth it if I'm gonna invest in it. But I'm just gonna weight it down with a couple of punches here just so I can keep it flat. But the reason I'm using this is because it'll protect my work surface from the alcohol inks that I plan on using. So I think that this red pepper is going to be cute, and I'm just going to try and open it up. I'm not using gloves, so do what I say and don't do what I do. But I'm not worried about getting ink on my skin, on my fingers, because I just live on the wild side, guys. Oh, and my ink dripped before I was even ready to drip it. I'm not even mad. That looks cute. I'm going to leave it, but I am going to try and show the proper technique, and I'm just going to drip off a little bit of ink. And let me tell you guys, a little goes a long way, and this stuff is super messy. So I'm going to get my spray bottle. Oh my gosh. Look at that. It got on my hand even though I wasn't even touching it with that hand. It was when I covered or put the lid back on. Oh, it's making a mess. These things. All right. This is why we have our work surface protected, and this is why we recommend wearing gloves. Okay, it looks like I just bled on myself. I'm going to see if I can clean up my lid here. If it stains, oh well. That's part of crafting. Oh, it came off. But I do actually have some baby wipes over here in case I need to pop over here and get something. I'm just going to spray this on my hands to try and clean it up a little bit. See how that came right off my fingers? I mean, it's not fresh, but it did clean it off a little bit. And that, my friends, is why we have the alcohol. Okay. I'm going to leave all this funkiness in because it's going to be fun to watch somebody mess up and then figure out how to fix it. So I'm going to take this little sprayer. I'm just checking that I don't have ink all over myself. I'm going to take the sprayer and I'm just going to try to gently spray on top of the ink that I've already dripped. And it just kind of moves. I don't know if you can see that, but it's moving now. It's like traveling. So I think I'm going to bring in this kind of hot pink color now. I probably don't need any more ink, if I'm being honest with you. I think we are already at plenty of ink on here, and this stuff just comes out so quick. You really should use an ink dauber if you're going to be using alcohol ink, but I don't have those at the moment. I could probably make some, but I don't have any. So what I did this time was I wiped the edge of that before I put the cap on so I could keep it kind of clean. All right, that is so pretty looking with that kind of like fuchsia. I'm going to just do another little spray and try to blend it. Okay. If I had a straw handy, I could blow on it and be like, and blow that all over the place. But just blowing on it with my mouth does the trick pretty well too. That's pretty. I think I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. I'm gonna leave these to dry, and I will come back when they're dry and punch through the top and the bottom maybe, and then I will be able to stick the monofilament the fishing line through those holes and have them hanging down, and attach them to some kind of like a little suction cup hook. I might just go ahead and cut another little heart and ink it up the way I did with these ones. But I do want to let it dry. I might just press, I've got a little pair of tweezers. I might just press my other heart on top of these ones and just kind of pick up some of the ink that's on these because they're pretty saturated right now. So let me just get that other heart cut out. I've got my third heart, and I have some tweezers. I did pick up the tweezers because I didn't want to get all kinds of ink all over my fingers, but I just wanted to press this on top of this already inked heart and pick up some of the ink on it so that I don't have to reapply more ink because it was pretty messy to begin with. And then I can just set this down and use some of that rubbing alcohol to get the ink moving around. So we'll do that. That worked out pretty well. Oh, it looks so beautiful. I don't think that this truly shows how nice it looks, but it is looking so pretty. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit more of the ink on this one with my tweezers. Anyway, that just looks gorgeous, and it's already starting to dry a little bit. So I don't think I need to do anything else to it. I might blow on it a little bit to move it around. Maybe I'll spray a little bit more rubbing alcohol on it. Oops. I love how it kind of looks like a watercolor effect. And as you can see, I protected my work surface. If I wanted to reactivate this ink and just kind of start using it again on another piece of plastic, when I'm done with this set of pieces, all I'd have to do really is just spray it down with rubbing alcohol again, and it would get wet and start coloring things. So like I said, I'll be right back and let this dry, and then I'll punch them out and string them together so you can see what the final project looks like. And then I'll try to add a clip at the end of what they look like hanging on my window so you can see them with the sun shining through. Just super quick, I wanted to show you what happens when you use a Sharpie. In case you don't have alcohol inks and you just have Sharpies to color in your stuff, you can see that's super rough. I didn't even do anything, and I'm just going to use my little spray on the Sharpie, and then it still gives it a really nice little watercolor effect. And if I wanted to blow on it, that kind of will let me redistribute the color a little bit. There's still a little bit of ink on the back of this, so it's going to pick up some of that, but seeing if I can pick this all the way up and show you. So now you can kind of see that there's some alcohol ink on this, and it's kind of drifting around, it's mixing up. But I could put lots of layers on it of different colors and mix it in with the alcohol, and that would let me create a similar effect with Sharpies if I don't have these types of alcohol inks. So I just wanted to share that too. Okay, I am back. I have my fishing line here. I still have it attached because I think I might end up putting a loop on the bottom and then hanging something down at the bottom just to kind of give it some weight because it's kind of lightweight. But I just wanted to show you I strung the two of the hearts onto my fishing line, and all I did was I just created a little knot in my fishing line. So I'm going to see if I can try to show you. Zoom in there. But I created a little knot, and then I strung my hearts through. I also got a little antsy and punched through my hearts. I used this really skinny punch. I don't know if you can see that, but Focus. But yeah, I use that little skinny punch. You don't have to use a tiny little punch. That's just what I used. If you didn't have a tiny little punch like that and you were trying to make knots to hold it in place, you could just kind of loop your fishing line around. So just kind of string it back through, and that way it's holding it in place. I'll try to see if I can show you that. But it's still a little bit wet. I was just too antsy to wait. So then I just strung the second one on, and I did a knot at the top and bottom of each hole. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's what I did to get that to stay in place. And then I just kind of kept stringing it and making another little knot. So here's another little knot, and I plan on just kind of showing you how I do this last piece, this last step. So I'm just going to string it through, and I'm getting a little bit of ink on myself because this isn't all the way dry, but I'll survive. It's getting on my fingernails too. So I'm just stringing it through that hole. I know that that hole is really hard to see right now. And then I'm going to pull it back through this other hole here. And since I have that knot at the bottom, it's kind of holding it in place so it's not just continuing down the strand here. And so that's what it ends up kind of looking like. See if it'll focus for me. You can do it. So, but anyways, what I'll do at the top here, now that I have this strung, is I will make another little knot to kind of keep this from traveling up and down the fishing line. And if I wanted to, I could just keep making more hearts and attaching them on, but I think I'm going to stop here at the 3. I think that looks cute. So I'm just going to make another little knot here, and I'm trying to keep my knot kind of close to where the hole is. I just don't want it to go any higher than that because I want to keep it in place. And one tip that I would have is if you're trying to make a knot and you're trying to tighten it down, just kind of use the bottom and pull tightly at the bottom. This fishing line that I'm using is 30 pound. So it can handle a little bit of pulling. It's not going to break. It can handle quite a bit of pulling, if we're honest. So, but that just kind of keeps the knot keeps it from traveling and moving around while it's dangling. Because if I put this outside, you know, not that I'm maybe going to, but if I put it outside, I don't want it to travel. And then at the top here, this is where I can go ahead and make a loop. I know it's hard to see because it's transparent, but I can make a loop, and then that loop could hang on my suction cup, or I could even just directly hang it on my curtain rod if I wanted to. So I can just go ahead and make another little knot here, or I can reattach it through that hole if I wanted and make a knot on the other side just to give it a little loop. In fact, that seems like the simplest strategy, but I think what I'm going to do is actually hold the two ends together and then pull my little loop through, kind of like when you're doing a tag, you're like attaching a tag to a gift bag. I don't know if everybody knows how to do that, but that's how I do it. And then I'm just going to try and pull the knot tight to give myself that little loop at the end. So I'll pull my knot tight using the end here to kind of tighten it down a little bit. So on this end, like I said, I'm thinking about just putting something else on this end just to give it some weight maybe, but maybe just like a little metal charm or something like that. So I'm still going to go ahead and cut it. And I'm going to leave a little loop just like I did with the other one. And that way I could put like a little crystal dangle on the bottom if I wanted to. I could hang a little metal charm. So now I can pull with both loops to tighten it down, tighten that loop down. And it may need some adjusting now and then. It may need to be tightened up again, but whoops. But I think it should hold. So that's my finished little sun catcher, and I just used plastic. So it's an upcycled sun catcher. I used some plastic that I already had from an old container, and then I used some alcohol inks. You don't have to use alcohol inks. If you don't have them, you could use Sharpies like I showed for this one, for this little circle. It's kind of wet still. And then just use some rubbing alcohol. If you don't have one of these little misters, then use like an eyedropper and then drop little eye drops of the rubbing alcohol onto your colored ink piece of plastic, and that will work just as well. But if you find that you're having trouble getting this to work, definitely try to make, like, instead of making a knot on the end, which, because this is so thin and the holes that I punched are really narrow, that works for me. But maybe try just kind of looping it through on the top of one of the hearts. The bottom of the hearts are pointy, so it would be hard to kind of loop it through, but maybe at the bottom. And if you don't have fishing line, you could use just twine or some kind of cotton string if you don't have anything else. And if it's going to be inside, it's probably not too big of a deal. But this will look so pretty if it was outside catching the sunlight. And if I wanted to take it a step further, which I might, I can go ahead and apply some of this glitter glue, and I don't even have to do anything super fancy. I can just kind of go in there and throw a little bit on there. I could even paint it on with a paintbrush if I wanted to get an even coating, but that could be cute. Just have a little bit of glitter, on there. If you don't have glitter glue, you could use nail polish even probably would work, so that you could kind of get some sparkle on that. I'm just going to leave that and see how that looks when I'm done. Let it kind of dry, but I don't think it even needs it, to be honest. It'll just be nice and pretty in the sun when it catches that glitter to have something extra to extra sparkle, because it's got this particular glitter glue has some like sort of purple holographic sparkles in it, so it adds a nice little shine when it catches the sun. So I mean, I could go in and do that on the other ones. We'll see if I do, but it's pretty much finished. I'll put a little clip in here to show you guys how it looks when it's hanging in the window. So I didn't mention in the beginning, having a pair of tweezers would be really helpful if you plan on touching this at all, but I strongly encourage you to have some rubber gloves on hand if you're going to use alcohol ink. If you are just using Sharpies, it still will get messy, but it's a little bit less liquidy. It's a little less intense and scary. So if you're going to be doing this with kids, I would strongly encourage you to work inside of a box, like a cardboard box, and maybe line it with wax paper or something like that, so you can contain the mess, because it will get pretty messy. You can use alcohol inks on lots of different surfaces, and it's permanent. So anyway, it's kind of a fun craft and a fun upcycle for things that you just have in your trash. But I already really like this. I wasn't sure if it's going to turn out. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this upcycle, and that if you are liking this video, that you are leaving a like and you're subscribing, and then also make sure that you are notified when I post a new video by clicking that little bell icon. I know that I personally have videos that I've missed because I did not see or did not click on that bell for the creators that I like to follow, so I would just mention that for you guys. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and putting up with my rambles. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.